What's up, guys? Welcome to A Vibe Call West Radio. Today we have a very special guest in the start of season 2. We have Keithian. What's up, man? How you doing today?
What's up, brother? How you doing? I'm doing pretty good, though. I'm excited to be here, and season 2.
Season 2. I'm really honored. You know, we had a conversation back in the infancy of this podcast, and now for you to be here in so much of a more professional and just, more accurate way, I'm really excited to have you on.
And I am excited to be here.
And I want to say that we spoke right before, I believe you went on the tour last year, and we spoke in June of 2023. So I want to ask, how would you describe in one word the rest of your 2023 post our conversation?
Damn. It's been a roller coaster. But it's been a good roller coaster.
Love that.
I think our everything you do as a human is like roller coasters, right? But for an artist, it's a little bit different. So you're up, and then you hit that high going down, and then you're down. You're like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Then you go back up.
100%. Yeah, it's very cyclical, and I think we all see massive moments of, exposure and, just eyes on you, and then there's also the downtime, but it's the balance of kind of keeping steady and just having that, motivation, and just kind of every single day you wake up and you're consistent and you show up. So
yeah,
makes
straight
sense.
up. That's exactly what's up.
And I want to say I love, I love the song "Missing Out."
Thanks, dog.
It was just very uplifting, and obviously your vocals are always going to be very smooth, but I really thought that the minute that I turned it on, I was just excited, and maybe it's because it's close to the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I know you didn't release it in the summer, but I'm getting that kind of euphoric and just everything will be all right vibe.
Yes, honestly. So Missing Out was a song that I wrote after the tour, coming back from the tour. And it literally talked about just the transition of being somebody that's just around, opposed to hey, I'm busy, but you're going to be missing out. I've told you I've been working towards something cool. And the truth is that I think that I've been living that way, since that song.
Makes sense.
So yeah, I really appreciate it. And yes, it's uplifting. It feels good. It's not I think it's I think I wrote it as a slide disc, a little bit of shade,
Mm-hmm.
but it's vibey shade. You know what I mean?
I like that, honestly.
So yeah.
Yeah, honestly, it's you're showing that, you're right. It's a little bit almost of this charismatic shade.
There you go. I'll take that.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
And I think it is something that happens, especially when you have those moments of just high highs on tour, and you're constantly, 1, getting validation, 2, getting exposure, 3, just doing what you love every single day, and then you come back from tour. There's obviously going to be a moment of okay, what's next? So that makes a lot of sense to make a song about that.
Yeah, and I don't think people, especially artists, don't tell you that we kind of have this high every single day when you're on tour. Your adrenaline is running. You're getting love from different people in your face, in your space, and everything. And then you come back the next day and you're like, oh, I'm dead. No one loves me.
Literally, it's such an interesting relationship that we have with the crowd and with that energy.
Exactly. So yeah.
And now, so last time you were on the show was very different. It was still an amazing conversation, but it's not as structured. Now we have a structure.
Oh.
So I'm going to go over for everyone new and old. So what I did is, prior to Keithian coming on, I asked him what his favorite album was, and he told me Blonde by Frank Ocean. Mm-hmm. What I then did was go on Spotify. I seeded the songs 1 through 8 based on total number of streams, and I put those top 8 songs into a tournament bracket. So the way they progress through the bracket is going to be Keithian's opinion. Are you ready to find out your favorite song on Blonde?
I just want to say my favorite song first of all.
Just the show is.
They was don't say it. So here I am holding back.
I appreciate
We're gonna
it.
see exactly which one is my favorite song.
Yeah, I'm going to make you go through the full exercise.
Okay.
So I appreciate it.
I'm excited about it.
Right before we started, he turns around, he's just like, you know my favorite song on there? I'm like, oh, no. But really quick, why? I mean, we were just talking about how it was chosen in the top 10 of Apple's best albums of all time. Why did you choose the album Blonde, and what resonates so heavily with you with this album?
You know what? I think it's a little bit of just being the familiar space. I think it resonated so well. I've always been a Frank Ocean fan. True story, I played basketball with him in New Orleans.
Really?
I'm not kidding you, growing up.
How was his jump shot?
I don't even freaking remember. I was the one that was like needed the help with the jump shot. I was a defensive, forward,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
whatever, and just knowing that aura, being around it at that time, didn't I never knew it would be like this, obviously, but just like I just resonate really close to it, and it's kind of have a euphoric sound. It's futuristic, just timeless, and he's talking about stuff that we all kind of have gone through in a very poetic way, but it's very musical at the same time, and at the same time very eccentric.
I think timeless is it's interesting because it is futuristic, but the word timeless to me rings so true with this album. And I think one of the reasons why it is timeless is what you spoke about, which is just the relatable nature of the lyrics. And these are human emotions that each person is able to grapple with and also grab onto and associate with themselves. So fantastic choice. I love this album, if you can't
Yeah, man.
tell through my excitement. So let's jump in now to the first two matchups, everyone. So what we're going to do is we are going to do right here, Pink and White versus Solo. Which one do you think is going to go on between those two?
What do you mean?
So I want you to choose which song do you think deserves to go on to the next round. Like, this is March Madness.
See, this is like, that's not fair.
I know it's your favorite album. This is why the show works. It's tough. I'm sorry.
Okay. Just because I would choose Solo.
Big upset.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that. Why
Yeah.
why did that song?
Because you made me choose. Like,
All right. So, but when I told you, when I asked you to choose, what was the thought process in your head that made you say Solo?
the melody.
Okay.
The melody. Even though Pink White is like on some other shit.
Yeah, I
like
got it.
the melody of Solo just hits me. That's the first thing that came to my mind.
And I want you to follow your gut on this because again, this is your favorite album. This is like choosing like your kids, which is tough.
My kids.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
Oh,
if it was
God.
like, if you want to choose a favorite kid, but that's funny. You're like, what? That's great. So Solo is going on to the next round. Now let's do the other side, which is going to be Ivy versus Nikes.
I'm gonna do Nike.
Wow, double upset. Why Nikes?
Well, Nikes is the first thing you just asked me, and all I can think, da da da, Nike, Nikes. Like I was like, okay, So that's the first thing that I was thinking, or it just came to my head. At the same time, obviously, I love Ivy, because this is in order. It looks like it a little bit. And
yeah, it's an order of
that's-
most popularity.
Right. Yeah. So
Makes sense. Do you think so? There's a lot of people, like I know Tyler, the Creator, he loves chords. I love melody. What would you say? Or I also love lyrics. When you're listening to a song, what comes to you first? Is the melody?
honestly, it is the melody. What's, oh wow. I'm so glad you asked, because when I listen to music, it's like so much stuff goes on at once. And I believe I have synesthesia. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you see the colors.
So like I can see it, but I just instantly like, okay, that feels good. And it's usually like the melody, like the beat and melody with it. If there's no beat, obviously it's the melody, but just the cadence of the song, right? It starts feeling, it gives me a rhythm and stuff like that. If that works, then I'm listening in on lyrics. Like I'm listening really tough to these lyrics. I'm like, whoa! And when the lyrics hit you, and I'm like, oh shoot, I relate to that, then it's on.
Then you have a special record.
Yeah.
But you're right. So people listen in order. Like there's some people that the first thing is lyrics. The
Yeah.
first thing is the drums or the bass. But I'm melody like you as well. Like I like
Yeah.
that. I really dive into that. But I want to speak now as we were diving into, your creative process and what you hear first. Break down for me song Stranger.
So, oh yeah, Stranger. Stranger is
First song, like newest release song.
Yes, that's my
I would
newest
love for
single.
you to break down what about that song instantly when you hear it? Like when you hear those songs, what's the first thing that you notice with your song?
You know what? With Stranger, it's the same thing. It's melody. Because when we made that song, we were just vibing, and we were right after we came back from the tour, and we just locked inside the studio for a month and a half.
Wow.
And every day we would come up with different stuff. And in particular, Oliver and I brought over the homie Ryan Authentic Beats, which has done a lot of stuff. And he's from the West Coast. He brought his vibe. And when I heard that, I was like, oof. You get that like, dust the shoulder off.
Yeah.
You let that stank face, whatever. When you heard it, and we're like, okay. And the first thing that I think hit me is how it turned, like how he started it. It was kind of like this mystical, mysterious vibe with the chords. And I was like, that's strange.
Oh, literally. Okay, then I love that.
So that's how it happened. That started happening, and when I got to like the hook, the melody by then was just kind of in my head, and I was like, you know.
Ooh, yeah.
And I always write about the experiences that I pretty much have. And so at the time, I was like, what's up? You here in Hollywood? You know, I just got back from tour. I hit this girl. I saw her on tour. She was a big deal. I was like, what are you doing here? Hit her up. She's like, what's going on? Like, what are you talking about? I was like, what are you talking about? You were like crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I told the homie, he was like, she was also drunk as fuck. So, so the whole experience was like, oh,
course.
why are you acting like a stranger? I knew the reason, but you know,
100%. Again, it's kind of like what we're saying with the Frank Ocean. That's relatable. I've been in situations like that. I feel like most people have been in situations like that. I want to go back to also when you're saying that you're in the studio for like a month and a half.
right.
What's the process in choosing the song that you want to release?
Oh, that doesn't come until after it's mixed and after we just kind of put it together. And
So do you
just
make
bring
a
'em
bunch
out.
of songs and then you mix them, or do you choose one to mix? Like how-
No, I do it all kind of together. Like I'll make a batch of songs. I'd like
Yeah.
to say a batch because it's not always like a full album. It's just like you get in vibe and you make it. I just continue, right? So like make the batch of songs and start listening to them back and kind of like just picking and choosing. Me personally, I will think in my head, as you guys won't let me say what my favorite song is, right? So
yet.
in my head, I'll know what's up, right? But since I make music for people, for others, I kind of like to hear what everybody else got to say about it, or my team, or close friends, and stuff like that. And then I'll be like, this one should be first, this one should be there, this one should be that way.
100%, yeah, because music, it's subjective, and I agree. It's like nice to also like allow other people, not to like, everyone has a voice, not a vote.
There you go.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the way to approach it, in my opinion, with music, because you don't want to just like take everyone's opinion, but then you listen to that. And staying with your music a little bit before we go to the next question, I read that you describe your sound as a gumbo of music.
Yep.
I know that's obviously from where you're from.
Yep.
Can you expand on that really vivid description for me? What does that mean?
Gumbo, if you had gumbo or any of the
Fire.
food from the region that I grew up, shout out to Louisiana and Texas, then you'll know that they just put anything in that shit sometimes. So like there's some bases of roux and okra, tomato bisque, all kinds of different things. But then like if you're like me, you don't eat meat, so we're not putting any of those chicken legs or things like that in it.
Pescatarian.
There you go, bro. So like, now I'll take some shrimp. You know what I mean? Some other all that stuff. But like, we're putting all these ingredients from different places in the world, including like mint leaves, bay leaves. You know what I mean? Just to make this gumbo. So I feel that gumbo, which the city of New Orleans and where the region it is like a port from different places where people came to this land from all over the world, and that's kind of the reason why the food is that way, or it's called gumbo. And me being a native from the region and everything, like I am a child of music, and all this stuff has been responsible for the music that you hear today from me. So yeah,
Traditional jazz musician.
exactly. I started with jazz and just learned all that stuff. So yeah,
Makes sense. Definitely, I feel like that like rich history that you have is probably one of the reasons why your music is so colorful.
Thanks,
and so much
dog.
textured. And so
Appreciate
I
that.
want to go into, again, like kind of the creative process, but a little bit more micro with it. So you describe the writing process of Bullshit as you blacking out in the studio, which happens often during your creative process.
Right.
You released Bullshit last year. Can you describe the feeling for our listeners and how it affects your relationship with the song? Meaning, do you ever get into one of those kind of like blackout moments, create something amazing, and then you're like, wow, I can't believe I was so honest?
Almost all the time. Like most of the time I go back and I'm like, oh shit, I said that. And that's just how it is. Like the blackout method is not supposed to happen, but it's supposed to happen when you're an artist, performer, or you just love passionately what you do. I talked to my aunt's attorney, and she tells me sometimes she'll go in the courtroom and black out. I'm like, are you serious? And I'm like, oh, that's exactly happens when we're on stage or when you're in the studio or when you're on, whatever you do as a creative or just a human being that you love and passionate about it. So yeah, I personally think that comes from, the higher power, God. I call him God. You know what I mean? So yeah.
100%. Yeah, it's like it's a mix of like also like a lot of times throughout our day, we're either we're thinking about the past or we're future focused. I think also in those moments when you're just like really present and you're literally just like locked in and fully focused on what is happening right now, those flow states kind of happen. So that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just like the best presence.
Like
So
when you're on stage, like you are like when you're really on stage and the only thing you're thinking about is the next note or the next lyric or the next move, it's like very much you come out of that and you're like, wow, that felt like 15 seconds.
and it's the best feeling ever.
It's by far. And
Yeah.
also, so you did this quote, and I actually completely agree with it. I read that you tell your family and friends if they ever want to know where you're at emotionally, then they should just listen to your lyrics.
Straight up. You know what's funny? I'm gonna tell you something. I was talking to my. This just happened this week. I was talking to my pops about something, and I told him the whole scenario, and he's like, "Oh, felt like she was a stranger." I was like, "You're right, dog." So I was like, "There it goes."
I love
Pops
that.
knows that. You know what I mean? So
I was literally going to ask, has a friend or a family member ever reached out saying they didn't know that you felt a certain way until they heard a song?
all the way.
Yeah.
All the way. My song Guaranteed. I have a song called Guaranteed, and I posted it just recently. And remember, it's my brother, my late brother, and
Rest in peace, I'm
and
sorry.
people listened to it, and family in particular was like, "Whoa!" And I actually, was like, "Wow, I'm glad you had mentioned that because that was recorded during this time, and you can actually hear it and feel it." So yeah.
What a unique and like kind of one-on-one experience for an artist and a family member. Because a lot of time I think it's hard for communication to happen in those really hard situations. And sometimes family members don't talk or friends in tragic situations. And just for that avenue or that like dialogue to be created through music is really beautiful.
Yeah.
Very unique to an artist,
Yeah, it
If
is.
you work in finance, that doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't.
You don't look at your spreadsheet and they're like, damn, he was upset today. So
I mean, that's the catch-22 of being an artist. You bring your work with you wherever you go because you are the work.
the vulnerability is tough.
Yeah, exactly.
It's people are allowed into your world, and sometimes when it gets in the hands of the wrong person, it's probably not great. But
Right.
I want to stick now with incredible music. We just talked about yours. Let's now go to an album that we also both love.
Oh,
Incredible.
We back over here.
We're back over here, so I know I don't want you to break your neck. I'm sorry.
No, you
The
good.
next matchup, I'll tell you, it is going to be Knights versus Godspeed. Down below.
Oh man, so I'm gonna disappoint you again, maybe, because we were talking before this. We didn't really reveal anything, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna say Nights.
Ooh. All right, break it down for me.
It's just Nights, like, yeah. I feel like, and obviously Godspeed, it's actually the answer to the rest of the album in my opinion. But it doesn't mean that I like it more than the other.
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
what came to me at the
It
moment.
could just be a moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. What do you think is the biggest difference between this album and Channel Orange?
You know what? I think that I feel like Channel Orange was his moment that he was also allowing himself to be vulnerable to the world with his personal life, as his announcement and stuff when he dropped Channel Orange. So I think that we got that out the way, and he could just continue with his story, without being like, in his, and I feel in his view, quote unquote political or whatever.
100%. Yeah, like once that conversation was put to rest, he could focus on more just like the perspective shifted.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, awesome. So Knights going on. I'm like, all right,
Where are we
White
with the
Ferrari.
tournament, bro?
Yeah, this is tough on the neck, but it's worth it in the end. White Ferrari versus Self Control.
Okay. And you want me to choose again?
You got to choose.
This
This is your bracket.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
I'm just the host.
Okay, so Self-Control.
Okay.
Yeah.
Break it down for me. Why do you like that song more than White Ferrari?
Oh, so it's a personal thing. Self-Control is literally like, I think it's my diary or my journal or whatever.
Love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that all the time. Yeah, I actually perform Self-Control as a cover every once in a while, and I literally will play the saxophone for it just because it just feels like for me it feels literally the song that I would have written for. Yeah.
I love that. That's so sick with the sax. How often do you find yourself playing that instrument?
See, it's since I've been playing it since a kid, like it's kind of not a back, like the afterthought in a sense, because it's kind of pretty natural. So when I get inspiration like that, I'm not kidding you. So like if it's a song like that, then I'll just pull it out and play it just because I can sing the shit out of it every day, like singing and singing it. So I'm like, how can I express how much I love this moment? You know, that's usually when I do covers with my sax, or I play the sax for songs
It's
like that.
completely inspiration based.
It's straight up just because, yeah.
That's so sick.
Yeah.
I mean, like I would definitely want to. Have you posted that on your Instagram?
This one, yeah, I think I have. It's just an old performance.
I'm gonna
show.
go find that because that sounds
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, no
100%.
doubt.
Awesome. So now let's go back to some questions about the man, the myth, the legend, you. So beyond music, I know that you graduated from Xavier and Tulane University and was awarded the Louis Armstrong Award, and also in 2015 was named the new filmmaker of the year in Louisiana.
Yeah.
So your passion for film has led you to work at Apple and a few other projects. Can you please break down anything that you're doing right now?
Oh, so right now I am both. I'm a filmmaker and an artist, so I'm doing both. Like I'm working on a few series, a documentary, and a few movies. Movies take forever. You guys know, all this shit takes forever.
Forever.
But it happens, and that's where I am with that, and I'm pretty excited about it. Shout out to Xavier and Tulane too, by the way. What I don't say enough is like I did go to those universities.
They're great schools.
Yeah, and they really worked with me as an artist, a creative. I know I grew up in Louisiana and stuff like that, and those schools I used to actually pass by and be like, oh, whatever, and not think about it until my cousins was like, yo, we're gonna go to Xavier. I'm like, why? Like, and my parents were like, well, that's a great idea. You're not gonna go to Pepperdine. Like, you don't need to go to California at like 17. I graduated, you know, and stuff like that. So I ended up there, which turned into one of my best experiences in life. Like it really pushed me. Those schools pushed me to the right place where I am now. They prepared me here.
100%. A lot of like people don't understand about college is like it's also like the interpersonal skills and being surrounded by other motivated people and like being surrounded by a good environment. Those are two really good schools, like nationally recognized. So, how you brought that up, and I want to ask: has your experience working on film like directly impacted the way that you create music? Like, what's one lesson that you learned while like in filmmaking that you've applied to maybe like creating a song?
It's a lot more structure just in general in the film industry, and that has allowed me to be more creative. You know what's funny? It's actually not so much creating the song; it's creating everything around it. Meaning that like I'll storyboard my idea and send the cover to designer, or I'll outline like my album or the next couple of songs I have. So it's just taught me a lot of creative structure that I'm able to like collaborate with my team and everybody is working with me on a little bit more efficient.
That makes a lot of sense actually, because I feel like music is a lot more like film is so linear and there's so many different steps that go into and different people. Like with music, there's more people in a production than there's like in a music production. So it's actually like when you said that, I'm like, okay, that's actually something I might do. So that's a great lesson.
Yeah, no doubt.
Truthfully,
Plus, also artists are all content creators now, so having that eye is really important. Like, so all of us are freaking filmmakers. If you see that stuff happening on content, I mean, we call it content creation, but at the same time, it's a cousin.
Literally.
So yeah.
That makes sense. And yeah, I think, there's always the balance right now of like, are you an entertainer or are you an artist? And the content, I think, sometimes gets in the way of like the artistry of it. But do you find that, how do you view the relationship between content and music?
Well, being that I'm a filmmaker as well, starting out as a musician is very musician focused. Realizing that now we're in an age where we have to express our music in a different way to get it out there visually, I kind of was one of these art musicians that were like, I don't know about that. That's kind of cheesy. But then I started doing it, and people were like, "Yo, you're good." And I was like, "You damn right, I'm good. I do this for a living." But
you're like, I'm a pro.
But the truth is, it's a lot of learning experiences and pulling back and understanding. I truly have fallen into understanding that being an artist across the board, you can just be considered a creative, and then it just encompasses what we are supposed to be all as DIY artists or multi-hyphenate, whatever you want to call us today. We all have to do it all as a part of the storytelling.
100%. Yeah, it's a really good way of putting it too. Because everyone is DIY right now, and I'm seeing. Yeah, I think it's a lot of people want, and I want to get into this in the next question because you brought up something in our last conversation that I love. It's hard not to be like fully focused on just the reaction and or like metrics online, and like you kind of get that worth as an artist through metrics online instead of just maybe the opinions of the fans. So I want to go now to, I know you played South by Southwest this year.
Yeah.
And I know last year you went on tour for 14 different states.
Mm-hmm.
So in our last convo, you told me how important it is to really go out in the world and touch / feel the fans instead of just chasing your entire career solely online through likes and comments. I think you said your manager said that, and I thought that was really powerful and true. So I want to ask, how was the reception of the tour and also South by Southwest, and how much do you believe performing in front of crowds helps grow your audience and your confidence as an artist?
Yeah, so being in person now that we live in such a digital world is kind of the most valuable thing. That's the reason why these tours for Taylor Swift and Beyonce not only like fatten their pockets and their crew and their whatever cast, but it also fattens the city's pockets. You hear them talking about the economy. You cannot undermine the value of being in person, being able to touch. We all went through the pandemic.
Yes.
And you see how devastating that was. At the same time, the positives are understanding like technology to connect still, but it doesn't change the fact that a good hug or in person, you can't hug Beyonce, right? But like, you know, like just
The presence,
just hearing the feeling, their understanding, like oh my God, you know, she's not as that big, she's tiny, or
They're
whatever
human.
you may see. People are human, and until you're like amongst that human, you really can't get the essence. So that's why I think performing is so important.
What's your favorite aspect of performing? Is it creating the set list? Is it the arrangement? Is it the vocals? Is it the fan interaction? Like, what do you find yourself gravitating towards?
I'm waiting for that blackout on stage for the moment.
Ooh.
There you go. I'm not kidding you.
That'd
I
be
love
so
that
sick.
you
You're just
said
hitting
that.
a note and you're just like, that's, yeah. I would
Yeah, it's
imagine
that
that's-
feeling right there. It's like, whoa, did I do that?
What's your favorite song to perform?
Favorite song to perform is Go Bay.
Okay.
Go
Why?
Bay, because the audience loves that. Like, they love that. They sing it more than I do. Like when I get to a point in that song, people literally are singing that, and it's the best reward and feeling.
So I want to ask, if you, let's say, you know, biggest show of your life, and you have to sing one cover off of Blonde.
I would do Self-Control.
There it is.
Yeah.
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 Makes sense.
Pull out
the
that was
sax.
too easy, bro.
Pull out the sax.
Nah,
All right, then what about let's go then all time.
Okay.
Different artists. Like if you had to do, let's say you're at Coachella main stage and they asked you to do a cover of any song.
It would be Lost
Okay.
by Frank Ocean.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Double Frank.
You shouldn't have put this up here with me, man. It's too easy for that.
I love it. All right, let's also go to this. I want to know, just because we talked about gumbo before, what city do you think when you're on tour like has the best food?
Best food?
Yeah.
I mean, New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Okay.
That's fair. So, like, what would you get
the
then?
next best?
Yeah, the next best besides hometown. So I agree with you. I think that's like one of the best food places in the world.
I would say Houston.
Like
Yeah.
barbecue?
No, just whatever you want, because Houston has like they also have strong Creole, Cajun food, Mexican food, barbecue. It's like a melting pot.
Yeah.
Like some of the most randomly good sushi is there. Like, I'm not kidding you.
I love
Texas
that.
sushi is like this big.
It makes sense. Everything's bigger.
There you go. So,
Wow. It's like you go to Sugarfish here and it's like that small. Sugarfish is actually fire.
Right,
though.
right. It's fire, yeah.
So I want to go now until I have a really fun section. But before that, I want to go back to the board. We're going to be doing the semifinals now, guys. Let's go with solo versus self-control.
Okay.
Which one do you think should move on?
Self-control.
Makes sense after everything I know about this. So between those two songs, like when you're choosing to put on self-control over like that song, what's your thought process behind that? Because you love solo as well.
I love solo. You asked me to be authentic, dog. It's self-control.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there what other covers have you done with your saxophone, with other music, with other songs?
A lot.
Yeah, can you name me like 2 or 3 of your favorites?
You know what? I like Chris Brown. Chris Brown. What is it? Under the Influence. Mm-hmm. I love that one.
Nice.
It's just really sensual and it's written so well and it's just vibey. And also, I tried that with an audience and they love that.
Hey, that's so
The
sick.
fans
Oh wait, so
love it.
you play the sax on stage sometimes?
Yeah, mhm.
That's
I actually
sick.
started the tour with one of my jazz records that's not even out. I'm not kidding you.
Really?
Like on purpose, just because as this industry is like, yeah, what's your, they don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, no one knows what works.
Yeah, 100%.
And for a long time, jazz musicians were not like in the forefront. It has always been like the back door until like Masego and Terrence Martin. Some of these guys. Because Kamasi, they came out and they're like playing it with hip hop and Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, Terrence Martin with them. Yeah.
Exactly, like putting it in Katy Perry records and things like that. So no, I was just like, you know what, I do that too.
Yeah, I think that to me also, it's like that's so unique. Like you go to these shows and you're not expecting, an R&B artist to rip a sax,
There you go.
and it's so sick.
Yeah.
To me, it's like if I saw that as someone in the audience, I would instantly be like, who is this guy? And then I'd go follow you. Because like
Thanks,
that's
dog.
unique. And like I think sometimes a lot of people don't understand is that's a very general statement. To me, it's like when you're performing, take the ego out of it and sometimes just think about what's going to give the audience the best experience. And sometimes it's that variety and it's bringing something that they didn't, think was going to happen. So that's why I love the idea of the sax.
Hell yeah, bro.
Dude, please let me know your next show. I would love to go see it.
Straight up, you're there.
Perfect. I'll be there. Awesome. Let's go on now to the next side, which is going to be the other semifinal, which is going to be Nike's. Oh, wait, no, you chose Ivy, right?
No, I chose Nikes.
Yeah, Nike's versus Knights.
Nikes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was quick.
Yeah.
So, why Nike's?
Oh God.
I know you said a lot of stuff about these songs, so I appreciate
Right.
it.
It's Nikes just because the creativity was just like out there.
Yeah.
You weren't expecting it, right? Like that's why.
100%. Yeah, like it's a complete tone setter for the album.
Yeah.
Do you think this is, kind of...
Also, I want to say this:
Yeah, go.
the ending of Nikes is insane.
Yeah, exactly.
It just goes into this whole world, and you're like, "Oh, I thought we were talking about this." So
Well, so I was going to ask you, what do you think, in your opinion, is more memorable, a great outro or a great intro?
Since I just said that about that, it's that great outro, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. Because if you can get through the song, the whole album, if you get through a song to an outro, you already liked it. So you're waiting for something to be like, what is that last cherry on top? Mm-hmm. So in our example of Nikes, it ends with a cherry on top.
Literally.
Because you're literally listening to this whole different sonic, and then you go to this thing. You're like, what the heck?
And it's interesting, too, because I feel like if you have a good outro, the person's more likely to go back to the beginning of the song and try and listen again.
Right.
So it leaves a good taste in their mouth. Awesome. So, guys, we now have the final set, which is going to be Nikes versus Self-Control. But before that, I want to do a really fun game. So what we did is I went on Keithian's Twitter. I found 3 tweets that I'd love for you just to break down.
Oh, shit.
It'd be fun. It's gonna be explain that tweet. So, I love this one so much, and I agree with it. In the midst of an interesting cultural beef, comes DJ Vlad and his whack ass thoughts. Why did
Right.
you tweet that?
Well, I tweeted that because, I also always felt awkward about DJ Vlad TV and stuff like that. So it was just interesting because in the moment, that was my thought.
Yeah, literally.
It straight up was. I was like, okay, no, I'm not. I don't really dislike.
What was his opinion on it again for DJ Vlad?
Huh?
What was his opinion on it again?
Oh, his opinion was basically on some stuff with Drake and
Kendrick.
the beef, the ultimate beef, right?
Who did you think won?
Of course, Kendrick.
Yeah, I think, and you're talking about also the producer that came in with the West Coast sound with the dust off your shoulders. I'm like, that's not like us.
Yeah,
DJ Mustard in that beat. That's exactly how
there you
feel.
go. It's straight up. It's like one of those things. So
that was a crazy moment for hip hop.
It's still happening. That moment is lingering. I love it. Every week is something. Like this week, it was something else, and it just went viral. What is the thing? Tom Hanks.
Oh,
like,
the son.
Yeah, it's
Chet
like,
Hanks.
oh my God, and he broke it down, and everybody's like, oh yeah, that's dope. The way he broke it down, but it went viral because it was sweet. Mm-hmm. It's true.
Yeah, I
You know?
think it's connected. You know, my roommate Dave he works in crypto, and he was so invested in this beef, and I'm just like, this is how you know this is big. He has no relationship really with hip hop. You know, obviously he grew up on it, but like he's not like avid. And
Yeah.
like this like is connecting so many like, you know, passive listeners, bringing it into the culture, and it's also brought people back to Kendrick's last album, "Missing Around the Big Steppers," which I loved.
Yeah.
Truthfully, like "Father Time," "United in Grief," "Crown," some of those songs, "Count Me Out." Like I listened to the album recently again, and happy that it's bringing people back to it.
It is. It's also a quality essence because that's what the whole, you know, I don't. It's not even a feud, to be really honest. It's like the hip hop. I look at it as like the hip hop community has called out another fellow, you know, hip hop artist,
Yeah.
and was like, hey, let's clean it up. Let's make it. Let's make this interesting now. You know what I mean? Like let's do something. Let's elevate to a different thing. I actually feel that we needed that. And
Yeah.
that's why it's so effective.
It's the second time he's done it. He did it with Control back in the day, and now he did it. This is much bigger scale.
Bigger scale.
But all right, let's go to the next one. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Does Taylor Swift winning Album of the Year at the Grammys mean the Kansas City Chiefs will win the Super Bowl? This is kind of prophetic.
Yeah, but that's what I do.
You were right on the money. Do you think that she deserved to win Album of the Year?
I'm a huge fan of Anti-Hero, that song. I love that song. I'm not kidding you. But I don't know. I'm over the album of the year thing just
Yeah.
because like it's subjected. I
Very
think
subjective.
Jay-Z got up there and talked about it, and what he said was exactly what I believe.
Seriously, Beyonce hasn't won Album of the Year, right?
No, she hasn't.
Yeah, I remember when he said that, it was just like when you say it out loud, you're just like baffled with it.
Yeah,
it's definitely
especially,
like a
I mean,
little
like,
political in the sense of like I think the label's probably like I don't know.
Who knows, right? That doesn't make sense. But what makes sense, right?
Yeah.
What makes sense in anything we have going on? Nothing makes sense. I think everybody's kind of like, let's make it like make sense. That's literally what we're all just like. Let's make it make sense.
Yeah.
That's what the Kendrick and Drake beef is. That's what the political parties that are
Yeah.
happening. We're just like, let's make it make sense. Don't that make sense? Don't y'all understand why? Y'all probably should know already which one is my favorite.
Yeah.
But doesn't it make sense? Just
Yeah.
want to say y'all. Sorry.
Yeah, it's true.
Sorry.
I think I have a hint what it is now. And then also, are you a fan of the Chiefs or no?
You know
Probably
what?
the Saints, I would imagine.
Yeah,
right?
you know what's funny is I grew up in East Texas, and
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes grew up there. Went to school with one of my cousins, all kinds of
Texas
stuff.
Tech or in high school?
No, in high school,
Yeah.
like literally, and it was just one of those things where when I go home, everybody knows Patrick Mahomes.
That's so
and it's
sick.
just one of those things where I'm just like, dang. By
Yeah.
default, I guess I am rooting for the Chiefs. You know?
Yeah, people hate the Chiefs. I don't hate the Chiefs. I think he's likable. I also love to see greatness, and I feel like we're watching Tom Brady is the GOAT, but we're watching the Michael Jordan-esque player of the
Yeah.
NFL come in and just from day one completely impact the league. So I'm with you on that. I thought that was a great tweet. And then finally, this is also it's really resonated even kind of with how everything's going this year with Diddy and some other things, which is like Shannon Sharp enjoys the controversy after Cat Williams, and he just wants the attention.
Right.
So basically, can you break that down for me, please?
Well, I think that's just very clear. Like everybody wants a little attention. That's it.
Yeah.
Like
It was a crazy episode.
It is
though.
a crazy episode. I'm not really into. I'm like it's cringy for me because like it's like what is it? 3 hours?
Yeah, it was a long
Like
one.
3 hours? What? Do you guys have time? I could barely watch Oppenheimer.
Dude, we're going on 4 hours right now.
No, we're not.
I
But
know.
but like 3 hours of just like ranting, and I've seen more and more of his show, and it's each person's there for 3 hours ranting.
Yeah.
Like, granted, I understand why the show works.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think also like he has a big platform, and it was a comedian that people wanted to hear from, and it lined up perfectly. But I just wanted to speak on that.
Yeah.
So finally, let's go back to the board for the finals.
Okay.
And I think I actually know how it's gonna go, to be honest, because of just the way that you're speaking
we
about
all
the song.
should know.
But
We
let's go with the final is gonna be Self Control versus Nikes.
Okay, you guys tell me what wins, right? I'm just playing. Wait, so you said Nikes? Oh yeah, honestly, it's Self Control.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
Self Control is literally like my favorite song, probably my top 3 favorite songs in the world.
What are the other two? It's my job to ask.
No, I can't say it, or I'll regret it when I look back at this.
Perfect. We'll just save it for the next time you come on.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome. So you guys heard it here, guys. Self-Control 1. I'm excited to go back into your Instagram and find the saxophone
Straight
cover
up,
for
man.
that.
I'd be excited.
Thank you so much for coming back on. I really
Thanks
gotta
for having
say
me,
it.
dog, man.
Yeah, this has been so much fun. I'm such a fan of everything you do, and just following your journey just digitally is awesome, but in person, kind of like what we were talking about with the tour and being able to actually see someone and like interact with them face to face. I think it's very important. So I cannot wait for the rest of your year. Can you also break down, is there anything that you'd like to announce or kind of plug?
You know what? No, I don't know. It's just a lot of things happen. Just follow me at Keithian, the Instagram. If you go there, you can find everything else. Keithian on music, all platforms, music platforms, and yeah, hey,
Follow him. Do it.
yeah,
We'll
follow
find
me.
you guys.
Yeah, go
We're also
find
going to
me.
we're going to put all of his socials in the bio as always. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Carter.
Yeah, it's been such an amazing time. Vibe Call West, Season 2, Episode 1, done.